Osita, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. We'd like to know a few facts from you. Now, let's first of all ask, I'm not sure if this is something that you might know, but under the Nigerian law, what specific offenses can these vigilantes or the actions of these vigilantes be ascribed to, Osita? My apologies, I think I have the names mixed up there. We have Evans Ufeli, who's joining us, social justice advocate and legal practitioner. Evans, my apologies. Thank you very much for joining. I'm going to ask that question all over again. Under Nigerian law, what specific offenses can be ascribed to the actions of the Agunechemba Vigilante Group in the assault of Jennifer Elobor?
Yeah, the law breach is assault and battery, okay, which has to do with molestation. I think this is an unfortunate situation because the vigilante in question have no jurisdiction to even carry out such action. Even when she has showed her ID card to identify herself and the rest of that and her colleagues, they still descended on them as though they had personal grievances with them. And I find it rather disgusting that the state could recruit men of such weak human standing to be vigilantes. I mean, even if you say that they are internet fraudsters or whatsoever it is it the responsibility of because that's the allegation, is it the responsibility of the vigilante to then begin to beat up people? The responsibility of vigilante is to identify crime and criminality and report to the police or arrest and hand over to the police. That is their responsibility. They are not even supposed to bear arm in the first place. But if they have been given that latitude to bear arm because of the level of insecurity in the state, then that is acceptable. But they should not load it on the larger society and the public. Now, those core members were assaulted. There was assault, there was battery, okay? The infliction of harm on them by hitting and beating is serious battery under the law and can be subjected to serious criminal analysis, civil and criminal analysis, okay? And the governor of the state, in the first place, must take responsibility for this because his responsibility is supposed to be to secure that state and to ward it off from all criminal elements. The persons who have been recruited into the vigilantes supposedly were supposed to be trained effectively to be able to interact with society so that they're able to interact with criminal elements and know how to deploy forces, okay, lethal, kinetic, and non-kinetic approach to issues. But in this case, I don't think those guys are trained. Perhaps they just went to take some hunters or some men that have issues, perhaps with women, that have, because the way they were going about it looked like these are misogynists. These are men who have some level of distortion against that gender. Because that's how I see it, because it was extreme. From the videos we saw, that it looked like there's a personal vendetta or something like that. So I think those who recruited them should also be arrested. The actors themselves should be arrested. The governor must take responsibility for this. And there must be a strong warning, a strong statement must be made by that state to ensure that this does not repeat itself the second time. And for the NYSC, I've not heard anything from them. And now someone is telling us that it's not a new video. The policeman that just said, that was interviewed, he said it's not a new video that happened 1 month ago. You can imagine. This is supposed to be brought to public knowledge as quickly as possible. And this is supposed to be used as, a case study to instruct every state that have vigilante as part of their security apparatus, so that you use this case to school them proper. Because, I mean, not many of them have even formal training, formal education. Most of these people that are enlisted into the vigilante, there must be a need to raise the bar. Perhaps to take men and women that have considerable level of education that can interact with the human conscience and the human society. And so the vigilante should not be, you shouldn't be recruiting illiterates, okay, or people who cannot really hold conversation effectively. But that's what I see here. Perhaps they were unable to hold that conversation. They're able to cognitively discern that if someone has showed his ID card, and this is what I do, this is why I'm here. You understand? Reasoning and considerable knowledge of what society should be should prevail at that level. So you don't subject them to dehumanizing condition. This in itself is even a constitutional matter. Because the constitution clearly said that nobody should be subjected to dehumanizing conditions. So it's not just assault and battery, it's also a violation of their fundamental rights, which you can bring a fundamental right enforcement action against the vigilante group, and they will pay dearly for it. So this is repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience, to say the least.
Thank you very much, Evans. We're also now being joined by founder, NAF Foundation, and gender rights advocate Nafisa Atiku. Nafisa, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Nafisa, if you can hear me, to what extent does this case highlight systemic gender-based violence in Nigeria, particularly against women in public service roles like the NYSC?
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me. I hope you can hear me. Network, it's been a bit fuzzy on my own end, but yeah, thank you. So right straight to the meat of the issue. When we talk about women's involvement in public sector roles, it really links into women's visibility. And what we are saying now is that women are generally not safe in the society when they deem to make themselves visible, that they can be subject to humiliation. I myself cannot count the many numerous occasions when in public, people have other people have threatened to beat me up, as I am, and I'm a lawyer with over 10 years. Basically, I'm a lawyer. Graduated in 2015 with over 10 years experience. So you can imagine that, this cuts across different socioeconomic stratas and barriers, religions, whatever it is. And it doesn't just end in the physical domain. It also finds itself in the technological space from Twitter. We look at what happened to Senator Natasha, the issues of suspension, not suspension was happening, and the vitriol that was shown on digital media across the country, even on the radio. So this in itself, when we look at what has been happening, looking for what happened to Comfort in the Ibom Air issue, now we're seeing a female NYSC corps member being dehumanized and being beaten in a certain way. We are then asking ourselves that Nigeria, as it is, this system doesn't work for women. This stripping that is now trying to force its way to be part of our culture doesn't work. It doesn't work for me, and it shouldn't be. It then brings us to say that we need to examine what are the basic tenets of the rule of law, dignity, and fundamental human rights that we aspire or we say that we practice in society. It really doesn't work. Women cannot be punished for their visibility in the Nigerian public sector system. It can't happen. We think about the widowhood practices that are still currently being practiced in this area. When are they going to stop? When do we now use stripping women as a crime and as a system of gender-based violence? Yes, I heard the previous speaker talking about the vigilante groups, it's not being professional. But honestly, that's the truth, right? But even the security institutions themselves, we saw what happened with Comfort at the Ibom Airport. We had security operatives that were on ground, and the same thing was still happening. How acquainted are they with the Police Act of 2000? How acquainted are they with the laws and principles and values that are supposed to guide our land? So I think I'll stop there. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nafisa. That'll do then. Thank you.